delivering value faithfully, exploring great books worldwide. Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today we're exploring Cut the Crap. NASA's ability to fly in space fulfills humanity's long-held dream. The closest realization of this dream is NASA, a U.S. government agency whose administrator is appointed by the president. For context, NASA achieved humanity's first moon landing. Cut the crap. NASA chronicles the agency's space exploration milestones over half a century, essentially humanity's space history. The Chinese author Gong Guer, Gu being cobalt, a chemical element, founded an astronomy magazine in 2005. Daily exposure to NASA materials fueled his fascination with aerospace. Finding no comprehensive books on NASA, he ultimately compiled this historical account. But another player kept stealing the spotlight: the Soviet Union. The Soviets launched the first satellite and put humans in space. We all know Americans reached the moon first, right? Few realize Soviets first achieved unmanned lunar soft landings. Essentially, the Soviets led most of the space race. This book centers on the Soviet-American space rivalry. NASA's origin story begins with satellites. In 1946, American scientists claimed sufficient thrust could launch objects into space. And yet Soviets launched Sputnik in 1957. More humiliating, they beat America's planned launch by mere months. America's initial satellite attempt failed. A Navy project commissioned by the president. The Army Ballistic Missile Agency then took charge. Their leader was Wernher von Braun, a captured scientist. The Nazi rocket expert had developed the V-2 rocket in Germany years earlier, terrifying allies with its attacks. After 2 months' effort, Braun's team successfully launched Explorer 1, America's first satellite. This happened on February 1st, 1958. Within 6 months, they launched 5 satellites. One discovered Earth's critical protective layer, the Van Allen radiation belt, deflecting harmful particles from Earth. Soviets actually detected this earlier with Sputnik 2, but kept it secret, fueling rivalry. Just stuffing instruments into satellites? We've got plenty. Sputnik 3 weighed record-breaking 1.3 tons. America's first satellite was nearly 13 kilograms, making Khrushchev boast at an Arab conference. American satellites are orange-sized. They need dozens to match ours. This set the stage before NASA's creation. President Eisenhower realized America lagged due to fragmented resources, proposing NASA to Congress. Congress passed the National Aeronautics and Space Act. On October 1st, 1958, NASA became a presidential agency, consolidating military space units, including the Army's Missile Agency and Navy Air Force research labs. Americans became satellite-obsessed, using them for military reconnaissance. Then weather satellites, monitoring clouds, followed by communication satellites. While America focused on satellites, Soviets were sending animals into space, like the dog in Sputnik 2, hinting at human spaceflight. America responded with Project Mercury, pledging to send humans first. They even selected astronauts, working confidently for 2 years, then suddenly heard Soviets sent Gagarin to space. On April 12, 1961, without warning, the Soviets did it. Soviets had conducted 5 unmanned flights and animal tests. Americans just underestimated them. 23 days later, NASA sent Alan Shepard on suborbital flight, another second place. NASA consulted the president. What now? With Kennedy in office, debates centered on funding. Space stations? Lunar robots? Not impressive enough to inspire Americans. They resurrected Eisenhower's rejected moon mission, despite the $26 to $38 billion cost. The Gemini program came first. 2 astronauts per craft, one always staying inside. June 3rd, 1965, America achieved spacewalk, still 2 months behind Soviets. Let's rewind before moon landings. Soviet probes photographed the moon's far side in 1959. NASA's Ranger 1 through 6 probes, 1961 through 1964, faced constant technical failures. No clear images until Ranger 7's 1964 success. 4,000 lunar close-ups. The Rangers 8 to 9 added 10,000 plus photos, revealing lunar terrain to astronauts. Then came Surveyor Program, automated soft landings on the moon. Soft landing meant gentle touchdown, no crashes allowed. The order hadn't even been in place 6 months. On February 9th, 1966, Soviets achieved soft landing first. Again, 3 months later, America's Surveyor 1 succeeded too. Then came Surveyors 3, 5, 6, and 7. Over 18 months, they conducted extensive surveys, drilling, analyzing rocks, even testing liftoffs. Surveyor 6 even hopped 3 meters, paving way for Apollo Moon missions. The book details pre-success setbacks and the breathless crises during actual landings. 1967, Apollo program began disastrously. January 27th, fire engulfed Apollo 1 cabin during rehearsal. Astronauts Grissom, White, and Chaffee died trapped inside, a mission meant for Earth orbit. Planned February launch canceled. Investigation revealed systemic failures, fatal design flaws. Inward opening hatch prevented escape. Flammable nylon suits, 50 kilometers of spark prone wiring, no fire protection, 1,400 wiring modifications during redesign. Renamed Apollo 1 to honor the crew, NASA overhauled its approach. Apollo 2-3 became ground tests only. Apollo 4-6, unmanned flights. Apollo 7 resumed manned Earth orbits. Apollo 8 through 10, lunar orbit tests, perfecting the lander. July 16, 1969, Apollo 11 launched. We'll skip famous landing details, focus on near disasters. Multiple critical failures almost doomed the mission. First crisis, fuel leak before launch, catastrophic given mission's fuel demands. A single spark could have obliterated the entire launch complex. En route, astronauts reported UFOs, later identified as high-speed cosmic rays. Computer crash during final descent. Engine fuel shortage allowed 15-second braking window. Lunar surface emergency stop. Hesitation here meant permanent lunar residence. Lunar module door nearly jammed post-landing. Spacesuits snagged critical circuit breaker in cabin. Ballpoint pen, fixed circuitry to ignite return engine, narrow escape. NASA prepared to cut communication if stranded. Lunar death protocol existed. President Nixon pre-wrote eulogies for the... While Armstrong and Aldrin walked lunar dust, Michael Collins remained orbiting solo. Nixon's signature joined astronauts on the "We Came in Peace" plaque. Apollo 12 through 17 followed. Only Apollo 13 failed, but public interest waned. 1972, Apollo ended. Where were Soviets? Soviets launched Luna probes till 1976's Luna 24. No crewed missions. Why no cosmonauts? The book exposes Soviet rocket paradox. Soviets' rocket mastery became their fatal flaw. NASA puzzled. What field Soviet leads? America consolidated resources even with von Braun's expertise. Former Nazi rocket scientist enabled America's first satellite. Unbeknownst to Americans, the Soviets had their own rocket genius. Sergei Korolev, protege of Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, father of Soviet rocketry. Tsiolkovsky conceptualized satellites and multi-stage rockets decades before implementation. Korolev inherited his mentor's cosmic vision, combining theory with engineering prowess. Stalin's purges nearly destroyed this potential. While Nazis advanced rockets, Korolev endured gulags during the Great Terror. 1945, Soviet troops found empty V-2 rocket shells. Korolev was summoned. Why only empty shells? Americans took rocket cores and scientists, left husks for Soviets. Korolev realized Germany materialized his dreams during his imprisonment. Soviet officers were shocked by technological disparity. Stalin finally recognized rocket's strategic value. Khrushchev later empowered Korolev with full support. With Kremlin backing, Korolev's visions became achievable. My teacher predicted satellites. We'll build them, Korolev declared. Bureaucrats initially created a tank-sized satellite, absurd to engineers. Korolev redesigned a 100-kilogram satellite with single transmitter, Sputnik 1. Launched in 1957, culmination of 12 years groundwork. History balanced Korolev's suffering with von Braun's forced weight. Von Braun, PhD at 22, led Nazi rocket research since 1937. As Korolev entered gulags, von Braun ascended in Nazi Germany. In the final months of 224, Germany launched thousands of V-2 rockets. These rockets could reach Britain in 6 minutes, blessedly inaccurate despite their speed. The collapsing Nazi war machine prevented catastrophic deployment.